I usually read the news stories for when I write articles, but I figured this is something worth talking about. Apparently, the American government is constructing a quantum encryption device. Now, while they're going to romanticize what this does and try to scare you because that's how they get your attention, what this really means when you get right down to it is no matter how intricate your encryption code is, this device will be able to decipher it in mere seconds. In other words, there is coding all over the place that is obscured by different passwords and different coding languages and things like that. And this thing is basically a universal protocol droid. Like in Star Wars, where the protocol droid could translate any language spoken to him and translate to the humans what the alien was saying. Well, that's what this thing does. This thing basically can translate any computer language and any encrypted password or secret firewalls or anything and get around them and make it viewable. So while that does have a lot of implications that may not rub people the right way, the fact is I don't think the average person is going to have to worry about that because you don't use this kind of device just to crack down on piracy or to crack down on somebody being mean on the internet. Why would you go through the trouble of having this much power to be that petty with it? That's what moderators do, and that's why I talk about moderators. But I have no doubt in my mind that the government is much more competent and has a much bigger picture of things and a wider scope of what they're doing, what they do for, than fucking being petty about it and just having power for the sake of itself. They want to achieve superpower. America has always been a superpower, and it has been so through its military-industrial complex, but that has limitations. Guns have limitations. You can only use so many guns at one time, and eventually you're going to kill the very people you need to construct the guns. In other words, you can't kill too many people. You can't just bomb lands because then the plants don't grow and the animals die, and there are too many resources at stake to just rely on the force of military. So this makes all of that obsolete. Because if you can just decipher any encryption code, then no other country in the world can keep secrets from you. No other country in the world can devise nuclear weapons behind your back. No other country in the world can keep governmental plans away from you. You know what's going on, whether for bad or for good. And should any country have that much power? Well, the obvious answer to that is no. But the fact is that, the average person, you don't really have any rights anyway. So I doubt sincerely this is going to affect you. That's what people don't seem to understand. Who the fuck are you anyway? You don't even fight for your mundane rights. You don't even fight for the right to be able to say what you want online. You're more than happy to have to work 6 days a week for measly wages. You're more than happy to get kicked around by fucking moderators and shit. Don't tell me about this kind of crap. I mean, yes, while it's going on in the news and it says something about where we're going as a species and things like that, it doesn't concern you. You're not smart enough to comprehend what's going on, let alone have any kind of bearing on it. So, I only say this because it is real and it is affecting things. But I know most of you don't give a shit anyway, and I know it'll go over your head because you don't give a fuck either way. You have no rights. You're cattle. So, don't get all scared. You have nothing to be scared about. You're still going to live your fucking life watching porn, going to work every day, doing shit until eventually you just break down and die like the machine that you are. You're much more of the machine than the computers that are going to be decrypted by this. And that's really it. Just it that they figured out a way to decipher all coding and figure it out in the course of minutes. Now, does this mean that there's no way possible to get around that? I sincerely doubt that. I'm sure if you were to build coding from scratch, it might be a little bit more difficult to get around. And I'm sure that there has to be weaknesses to it. It's a computer. It's not infallible. But it would be a very practical, useful, and powerful device that, given the track record of, the military-industrial complex, is probably not the best idea in the world for them to have it. But most likely it will not affect civilians. It will not affect civilians in America. It will not affect civilians anywhere in the world. They don't give two fucks about you. What they care about is maintaining the power structure to where they own the land, they own the resources, and fuck every other feudal overlord that wants the same thing. That's what it's all about. It's all about power. And, I'm smart enough to realize that I'm never going to have that power, and I don't want that power. I have no desire to have power. What I have a desire of is to live my life unintruded upon by people that do have that power. And if it means having the government have all the power, then good for them. Let them have the power. I'd rather they have the power than fucking Mark Zuckerberg and Google and shit like that when they use what power they have, they abuse it, and they abuse me. So, yes, Facebook and Google, not all powerful, but the fact is what power they do have is abusive and, civil rights violating and just despicable in every regard. That's why I support government, because at the end of the day, the government, if nothing else, is more rational, is more practical, is more feasible, more comprehensive. What they do makes sense. And what they do usually is of far less consequence than private capital. So that's why I support government having power. Not because necessarily it means gumdrops and rainbows. Not necessarily because it means they never do or don't abuse their power. The fact is, just when they're corrupt, there's a reason for it. They're just not corrupt because it makes their penis grow big and because they like, smacking us with their dick. It's because they have an agenda. It is because they don't do anything without good reason. Might not be for your good, but they do have a good reason. So, I guess that's really all I have to say.